Live on the internet. Hi, everybody, and welcome back. Phil Nagy on sports. So excited to be here with you on a football Saturday. Of course, big win for the Buckeyes today without 23 of their players and/or staff members. Dominant program victory. Congratulations to Larry Johnson. Of course, he will be the winningest head coach in the history of Ohio State, and he can never be beaten. He can never be usurped in that category. But we digress. This show is not about the Buckeyes, even though we love the Buckeyes. But we got an absolutely huge game, Week 13, Tennessee Titans. So I know Kit's got a bunch of keys to this game, so we're going to go ahead and just jump right on into them right now. Kit, what do we need to do on offense?
Well, so this game is going to be a bit of a heavyweight bout here. A bunch of running team or two really heavy running teams with really good run offenses. So it should be entertaining to watch. But as a result, like you mentioned, I kind of expanded my keys here more than normal to kind of, because this is our first big matchup that potentially feels like a potential to be like a playoff game. So on the offensive side, I think it's going to start with passing efficiency. I think that's going to be really important for us with Baker, getting that passing efficiency going, making sure that we are productive in the key moments. He's been doing a really good job of that on third downs in particular of late. But we need that efficiency to not miss the open guys. I think if we can reduce some of that, and then when we have to have it, being efficient with the passing offense will be important. Second piece of this, second key that I've got here is to not leave points on the field. We can't afford to go into a game with the Titans and leave any points on the field, because if we're taking 3 when we could have gotten 7, if we're getting 3 and outs or ball taken away and don't end up with points, that's going to really kill us. So we got to get those points. We can't leave them on the field. So that's going to be big for us. Another key here I've got for us is to double dip wherever possible in this game. There's going to be obviously, if we end up with the ball in the second half, that's a really good opportunity. If we end up closing out the first half, getting the ball back, then you can double dip in that situation. Sometimes you can get it off of a potential for a turnover. If you get a turnover, then you can double dip with two drives in a row, getting points. So there are ways to do it, but if we can find a way that we can get a double dip, that's going to be big for us, because that'll give us an opportunity to establish an early lead. And the sooner we can establish an early lead, or the earlier, I guess, we can establish a lead, is going to be better for us. Not that this team can't fight back. They've really proven that through this season. So we can't just, rest on our laurels and, we've got a lead, we're going to be good, we just run the ball. It's not really going to work like that. So we need to be, cognizant of that at the same time.
Absolutely.
So, and then the last key I've got here is, this is really going to have to be our best game of offensive football. Most complete game of offensive football to date. We're going to need to be well balanced. We're going to need to really bring out, some of the things we started to develop so far. And you've seen that from Stefanski in the game plan for things he's developing, even within games, to, he'll get them going on one run or one type of play action or one type of route, and then suddenly break it a different way that gets guys open. We're going to need to do all that kind of stuff and more so in this week. I think this is going to really be where having a full, a really clicking offense is going to be very important for us in this one.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm excited to see how they look on that side of the ball, especially the once vaunted Titans defense is similarly a little nicked up in some places as well. So I think that we have some matchups that we can exploit for sure, and can hopefully take advantage. All right, I know you said you got a lot for the defense. How are we going to stop King Henry?
All right. Well, so for the defensive side of the ball, I think it's all going to start with Miles. I think Miles is going to be a big part of this coming back. We really need him back for this game, so it's good he's coming back into this game. I know not everybody coming off of COVID has looked, necessarily back up to speed, but we're going to need that if we can get it out of him. Ideally, we want him to wreck this game as much as possible. We want to put that stamp on there and get those critical moment plays that he's been known for in this season, those strip sacks, those the critical sacks and critical moments. Those and even just the pressures that lead to interceptions or lead to or tackles for losses, whatever it is.
Absolutely.
But we need Miles in this one, making those critical plays, and hopefully he's up to the task this time. He, from what I've heard, he sounds like he was looking good in practice from what everybody's saying. So hopefully we'll see that here in the game tomorrow. For the next key here, play action defense. So we're actually pretty good at the play action defense so far this season. We're ranked 10th in the NFL against play action offenses. They're very good with the play action offense, so this is going to be something of a strength on strength here. So we'll see how that works out for us. But if we can play well on our play action defense, that will really help us out. If we're not, sucked up all the time into the run. Obviously, they've got Henry, so that it makes sense why their play action works. It's going to be hard when they're feeding him the ball, and then all of a sudden they're pulling it and throwing it. Same thing we do. So the difference there is our play action defense is actually a little better than their play action defense is. So hopefully we'll have more success with that than they will, but time will tell. But that's going to be one of our keys for the defense.
Okay.
Next key being limit chunk plays, and that's and I mean that for the running game and the passing game. I'm going to talk a little bit more on the passing side here because we're going to talk about Henry in a minute. But Brown, Henry, Davis are really kind of their three chunk play getters. Those the guys that go out there and get those chunk plays. We got to find ways to limit those chunk plays because those will really hurt us. And obviously, I think they're gonna get some. We're not going to prevent all of them, but as much as we can to kind of pull in the reins on that. And I think that goes back to our first key. If especially for the Brown and for Brown and Davis, if we have Miles play into the game that hopefully he is wrecking the game and really providing that pressure, that should be really important for us to take away some of their receiver threats. So the next key is going to be force predictable downs. So as much as possible, we want to get them into downs where we kind of are going to know going into the down what they're likely to do. So those third and longs tend to be predictable because it's not so likely you're going to run up the middle on a third and long. And I mean, you could do it and hope it's going to work, but it's not very likely to be successful. But pulling out a pass play on a third and long, everybody knows you're passing. Then the rush tends to be a little bit more effective because you can kind of pin your ears back and go for the quarterback. Sure. So we'll see how that works out. But as much as we can, pushing them into those predictable downs will really help us out. And then the last piece of this, and really specifically to Derrick Henry, is we have to gang tackle in this. We can't afford to try to take one guy in to try to tackle Derrick Henry. He's too big for that. He's too powerful. And he's way too fast. We have to do that gang tackling mentality. Try to get 3, 5, 7 guys on the ball as much as possible. Sure. And I don't, we can't afford to have guys sitting there watching the tackle happen in front of them. They need to get involved because Derrick is one of those kind of guys. He can take 2 guys or 3 guys and then break all those at the same time and bounce out, and then he's running. And if instead with guys stop pursuing and then watch their teammates attempting to make the tackle, that's where breakaway runs happen for Derrick Henry. So we need our guys coming in there. The good news for us in that front is that Derrick Henry is really effective on the outside, not as effective on the inside. And that's where our defense is effective. Not so effective on the inside, but much more effective on the outside. It's going to hopefully helpful that Taki's back for us, but I think that's going to be, if we can get that gang tackling going and we're pursuing to the outsides with OV and Miles, they're both very good at contain. We should hopefully have some good success there against Henry.
For sure. Okay, cool. Did I hear you say you have a special teams key for this one?
I do have a special teams key. I felt like we couldn't afford to leave them out since we're really going to need.
First ever special teams key. Yeah,
it felt like we couldn't leave them out on this one. It's too big of a game, and they're going to be a big part of this. Just one key here, but it's kind of a two-sided two-sided coin here for the special teams. But it's going to be to provide a spark. We need the special teams to provide a spark somewhere, and we've got to have our special teams prevent them on their special teams from providing their team a spark. as much as we possibly can. We want to be, smothering their spark and providing a spark to our team as much as possible. So things like we saw with D'Ernest in the last game against the Jags, where he's running down the sideline and DPJ's laying down some vicious blocks on the kicker. That kind of stuff is good for us. And that's the kind of thing that can really get our offense going, and the kind of thing that, in fact, can get our entire team really, really, go.
Absolutely.
That spark is important. So
absolutely, or Gillen putting them inside the 5 or something to get them going for sure. So
absolutely.
All right, overall keys for the Browns to leave Nashville tomorrow as a 9-3 football team.
Yep. So it all starts with showing up. You got to show up and make a statement. I think they're going to do that. And whether or not that actually leads to a win, we'll see. But they've got to show up and they've got to be ready, to put their best football out on the field. Second key here is going to be winning in the trenches, and I mean that all 3 phases: special teams, offense, defense. In the trenches is this. Like I mentioned at the beginning, this is very much a heavyweight bout. It's going to be determined in the trenches. We got to win in the trenches. So third key I've got here is the time of possession. Time of possession is absolutely going to be key in this game. Whoever actually ends up winning the time of possession battle is going to win the game. And in fact, the times when the Titans have been beaten this year, 100% of those games they've lost, all 3 of them. They lost the time of possession game.
There you go.
So if we can come out on top in time of possession, we'll win it. And then to tie into that time of possession piece, because there's only one way you can skew the time of possession and still or lose the time of possession, still win the game, and that's with turnovers. So we've got to win the turnover battle. If we can at least tie or win the turnover battle and then also win the time of possession, we'll for sure win this one. And then the last one is going to be just keep fighting throughout. This is a team that likes to come back. They've done it a number of times, and even 2 scores, 3 scores down, where we have not proven that ability just yet. They have proven that ability. So we've got to be fighting throughout this entire game, no matter what the score is, because if we keep fighting in this one, we could find ourselves in a position to win it.
Yes, for sure. That would be awesome. Okay, well, we got a couple of questions here that I want to get to you before we get to our official score prediction. Demarion wants to know, who do you think will have more rushing yards, the Browns or the Titans tomorrow?
I think the Browns are. So at least I hope so, because that's going to be a big key for us actually winning the game. I didn't talk about yardage in the in rushing, but I think that is important for us to win, is that we end up winning. Now, the advantage we have on that is we've got, Derrick Henry he's great back. He does get stronger and stronger as you go into the game. And by the fourth quarter, he seems like he's as fresh as he was in the first quarter. But we have an advantage that we have 2 backs that are both excellent running backs, definitely in the conversation in the same area in talent wise as he is. And then when you look at and production and stats and everything, match that. They're very comparable in all of those in all the key stats. So the one thing that although Derrick does get strong later into the games, he's just not going to be. I don't think he's going to be able to compete with the just the rotational ability that you can have between Chubb and Hunt.
No, absolutely, I would agree with that. Tilted, first of all, gives you a shout out on your shirt, and then
thanks.
Secondly, wants to know, in a game that's going to be so evenly matched, do you think this comes down to coaching, and therefore does Vrabel have a little bit of an edge as the veteran?
It's a good point. It is very evenly matched. I don't know that necessarily gives Vrabel an edge. He's got a little bit more experience, that's true. But I think Vrabel's a little bit more on the aggressive side, and Stefanski's a little bit less so. And that the teams kind of mirror that. You have the very steady, dependable Stefanski approach to everything, where he's very even keel. He doesn't get high, doesn't get low. He's very steady throughout. And his team that he has kind of crafted in his image is kind of that way. And then Vrabel's very much just like he was at OSU. He's very passionate, kind of like he gets red hot and does his thing. But his team is kind of that way too. So I actually expect that that this game, especially because they're so similar in styles, I think the steady will win the race in this one.
Okay, sounds great. Graham said thoughts on Taki shadowing Henry. We obviously know about spies in the QB run game. Is there such thing as a running back spy per se?
So you can scheme it that way. Yes, you can have guys that are basically but I mean that's kind of works out anyway with the way that unless we're talking about a lot of counteraction where you're looking for guys to over pursue. But yes, you do tend to read keys to flow to where the running back is going anyway. I will say having Taki back is really important for us. PFF I think had him at like the third run stopping linebacker in the league. He is really good against the run, and where he's particularly good against the run is where Derrick Henry is good in the run. Is then on the outside, those outside stretch zone rushes, which is where Derrick Henry thrives. The reason why he's so good, when you don't have ends that contain very well and Derrick Henry can get to the outside, his size advantage along with his speed against a corner, against a safety, those kind of guys. I mean, you saw it when Norman got stiff armed into tomorrow. Back was week 4 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But those guys, I mean, they can't stand up to Derrick Henry because he's massive. But that's where Taki and with OV, who's really good at contain on the outside, one of the best in the league, as well as Miles, also one of the best in the league at contain on the outside. That's one of the reasons why the Browns are good defending the run to the outside. I think that's why we actually have a little bit of an edge there.
Okay. Sounds great. All right. Well, yesterday's sim started out pretty nice, 17-17, and then the wheels fell off. And we'll see. Actually, one more question here before we get to the score prediction. Demarion says, how many sacks do you think the Browns can get tomorrow?
Ooh, so they don't have their starting tackle. In fact, they're on a third string tackle, but he's been playing pretty well. So we'll see how that works out. Now, I don't think he's really gone up against anybody like Miles. Miles is kind of a different animal. Mm-hmm. I expect we'll probably have something over 2 sacks, probably, maybe 3.
Okay, great. All right. So again, we had the sim 17-17. We're feeling great about ourselves. Case Keenum, 10 for 10. Dogs and cats living together. And then we got maddened again. For some reason, the game just hates all of us so badly. So the final score was actually 38-20, which was atrocious. What's our official score prediction for Browns Titans tomorrow?
So, these are really great offenses going against not the best defenses in the NFL. So I think we're going to see a lot of scoring in this one. Even with the rushing attack, because and why I'm going to get into that is because we have some of the best at long runs, where just because you're running doesn't necessarily mean you're taking as much clock off the game when you've got you're running for 40 yards at a chunk.
For sure.
And Derrick Henry is great at that. Nick Chubb is great at that. Kareem Hunt's great at that. So you got 3 of the best backs in the league doing that. So I'm going to have this as a relatively high scoring game. Okay. If we hit our keys, though, we have to hit our keys because it could go very ugly for us. But if we hit our keys or a good majority of our keys, I see us winning this one, but it's going to be close. I'm going to give us this one 35-34.
Ooh, 35-34. Impressive. That would be a great win. Hey, again, all that matters is that we have more points than the other team. That's truly the only stat that matters. So,
yes, sir.
All right. Well, we appreciate it, Kit. Extra thoughtful with your keys to the game, and we will meet again tomorrow evening and see how many of them we were able to stick to. Still pretty bummed this game didn't get flexed to Sunday night or even Monday, since they're changing games all over the place for everybody except for us. But we'll see. And then obviously we'll start our unpacking the huge rematch with Baltimore next week. But got to get through this one first. Again, appreciate all the subscribers. We're up to 375, which is great. We continue to appreciate our fun friends hanging out with us week after week. And if you want to tell your friends about it so we can get more subscribers, maybe YouTube will give us money someday. That would be fun too. But other than that, Phil Nagy, Kit Nagy is always joining you today. And we'll end the same way we always do. Go
Browns!